Hey there! Welcome to another Speedpaint journal by St. Linthoria. Welcome to my mind. Thanksgiving will always be my dad's holiday in my mind. That was the one holiday he worked to get legal rights to in the divorce proceedings with my mom. That first year, a few months after my mom told us about the divorce, we had one Thanksgiving with my mom and another one with my dad, which, quick side note, my mom that Thanksgiving made this pumpkin pie and forgot to put sugar in it. And I looked at that pie and I knew it was wrong. Like, I looked at it and it was all cracked and looked like dry. And I was like, no, I don't want any of the pumpkin pie. That does not look like good pumpkin pie. I'm pretty sure you messed it up somehow. And everyone around the table, especially my older brother Arian, who is he's a real one, yo. He tries to do his best to support my parents either way, basically. So I'm pretty sure he kind of sensed that I was pretty not okay with the way the divorce was going, basically. So he stepped in and he was just like, Stephanie, that's not okay to say, and all this other stuff, and basically told me off about it, basically. And then when I left the dinner table early, since I wasn't gonna eat that pie, 10 minutes later, he came down to the computer room in the lower level and said, yeah, you were right about the pie. She forgot to put sugar in it. I was like, yep, that's what I figured. But anyway, that aside, every year after that, it was always my dad's holiday. Prior to the divorce, it was the one time of the year Dad was guaranteed to go all out. When I was really young, Dad was the primary cook of the house in the first place. But over the years, his time in the kitchen dwindled, and mine and my siblings' self-sufficiency increased in the form of sandwiches and Hot Pockets and things like that. And every now and again, my dad would make a dinner, usually a steak dinner or a stir fry, things of that nature. But Thanksgiving was the day my dad made a feast. He went balls to the walls and it was great. Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, corn, pumpkin and chocolate pudding pie. Those were the staples for my dad's Thanksgiving. Sometimes a green bean casserole or sweet potatoes with marshmallows, because my mom loved that dish for some fucking reason I didn't understand as a kid. I hated sweet potatoes as a kid. I kind of wish that I could bring it up and have her make it for us at some point now, but I spent literal years complaining about that dish, so now it feels too embarrassing to bring it up. So stuff would be added sometimes and swap around year to year, but those initial 6 items were always the same. And the chocolate pudding pie especially was a Thanksgiving thing. Back when you could still get an industrial-sized chocolate pudding can, which, I don't know, maybe in other areas you still can. I feel like I saw them around the supermarkets in Texas when I visited there last. But in my area, you can't get those industrial-sized chocolate pudding cans, the really big, gigantic ones, basically, that you would normally only able to find if, you worked in a restaurant that had them. You know what I'm saying? Those types of pudding cans. Back when they had those just on the Walmart shelves, my dad would use that whole can and 2 boxes of pudding mix to thicken it up, and he would make 3 pies with them. He'd put them in Oreo pie crust tins, basically, those Oreo pie crusts, which, again, in my area, you can only get around the holiday season. And he would top them off with whipped cream. When he first started to do this, the whipped cream used to be optional, but I remember more recently, he would just kind of add the whipped cream on before putting them into the fridge to thicken up, basically. Simple, but it was so good. To be fair, I think part of the reason why my entire family loved it so much is because my mom would do this thing pretty often where she would try to make the whole house healthy and cut down on sweet stuff, but we always knew that we would get that on Thanksgiving, so it was like an extra special treat. Plus, again, the Oreo pie crusts in my area, it's not there outside of the holiday season, so like, unless it was Thanksgiving, Christmas, or Easter, it wasn't even an option to even make. So it was just a special treat, and as simple and just honestly basic as it was beloved. And it was something that we all attributed to being Dad's thing. Sometimes we could convince him to make it for Christmas or for Easter, but Thanksgiving, that was when we were guaranteed to have it. So, as a result, like I said, those pies and Thanksgiving, they're cemented in my mind as Dad's. It seems sacrilegious, honestly, for anyone to make those pies without him being present at the very least. I remember having mixed feelings when my older brother made them for Christmas last year. I don't really remember last year's Thanksgiving, though. My grandma passed away a few days before it, and I remember that trip to her hospital and watching her pass away. But Thanksgiving itself, it's like a black hole. I remember my little sister's in-laws invited us over to their place, but I'm pretty sure I didn't go. I can't remember for sure, honestly. I'm only relatively certain that I didn't go because I only got a single phone call on that day around the time for the Thanksgiving dinner would have been, for when the Thanksgiving dinner would have been, from my older brother, and it only lasted like 3 minutes. If I had actually went, there would have been at least a few others to figure out, hey, just to say, hey, I'm here, I'm ready to go, that type of thing. I looked back on my text logs too. That was honestly the only time that I really spoke with anyone that day, I think. But I don't remember it. I don't remember what I did that day or anything like that. I don't even remember talking to Aaron that day, really. It's just a black hole. They invited us again this year. My grief is less, but at first I still thought I wouldn't go. Thanksgiving is Dad's day after all. But then I thought about what else made that day special and magical. It wasn't just the day Dad cooked for us. It was the day every one of my siblings who were in town would gather around the table and play games. It was the day that all my siblings who were out of town made a point to travel for if they were going to try to see us at any point during the holidays. Us siblings who all lived in town, we did the playing games and things like that outside of Thanksgiving all the time too, but Thanksgiving was a day that there was like a mutual, spiritual blood pact almost, really, to plan for a late night. Any other time of the year, a game night would end at 11, and that was late for us. As long as no one was working, that would be the latest that it would end up is 11. Thanksgiving, though, it could last until like 3 a.m. It was the night for Monopoly and 5,000 point rummy. Everyone knew to take Black Friday off, not for the sales, although some of my siblings did those too some of the years, but for the games. Thanksgiving was my dad's holiday because it was a day for my dad's 3 most favorite things: food, family, and fun. When I realized this, I knew I couldn't just skip Thanksgiving again this year. Not without feeling like I was betraying my dad's memory. As hard as it will be, as hard as any future Thanksgivings will be, and honestly, I'm having trouble not tearing up right now even talking about it. It would be a dishonor to his memory to turn that day into a day of grieving. Instead, I aim to go into it this year with the goal to celebrate and remember the great Thanksgivings my dad gave me. I'm going to go to my sisters-in-laws this year. I wanted to be able to say that, oh, and I'm gonna bring chocolate pudding pie, but like, I couldn't do it. I found myself purposely making excuses to not bring it. I can't give up my dad's pie right now, like, just as much as I want to embrace my sisters-in-laws as family too, I can't bring myself to bring that out of the blood family circle. But for those of you who are in the same position as me, whether it's Thanksgiving or another popular holiday that you connected to a loved one in the past, I encourage you to try to approach it with the same mindset as me. To try to keep in mind that holiday that your loved one who has passed, that holiday that was theirs, that was their favorite holiday, they would prefer you to go ahead and celebrate. I'm crying even as I say it, but it's the truth. And it's not easy to do. And you know what? If you still need some time, that's okay too. I needed last year. I didn't have the strength for it last year. But this year, I'm gonna do everything I can to make it a good Thanksgiving. So go me for being able to get this out on Thanksgiving still, despite getting like 4 days behind, which was way behind for me because of getting a 4-day migraine, which sucked. So the picture that I drew for this is basically of the direct descendants of my dad, so my siblings, my niece, and my nephew. All of us as bears. I chose to do bears, grizzly bears specifically, because my dad went up to Alaska once to visit my sister and for the birth of my niece, and he got this shirt there of a grizzly bear. Like, ever since, he just would always talk about how cool the shirt was and how much he loved bears, and he would always make this stupid bear joke, like the as in like the gay bear joke, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I guess I'm a bear, ha ha ha, but not that kind of bear, because he was so dumb, and he would always make the joke whenever he would wear the shirt. So now, like, grizzly bears to me, and I know at least to one of my older sisters, they're connected to dad now. So I just went ahead and made us all as grizzly bears. I did want at first to go ahead and put in my brothers-in-law as well, because to dad they were family too, but I don't know, I guess I'm just at my stage in my grief still where I'm still like, this is for us, you know? Still kind of in that stage, so to speak. So I ended up just doing just all of his blood peoples, so to speak. So yeah. You guys have an amazing day, and happy Thanksgiving!